Thank you so much, Panayotis. Thank you to the Hellenic Wind Energy Association for being such gracious hosts and for co-organizing this important event with us. We're delighted to be here, but I think at the same time we're humbled. Humbled by the scale of the challenge, because as the last few days has been a painful reminder, we, certainly as Greeks, but also as Europeans, need to be much more autonomous, much more self-reliant in dealing with our collective challenges. These challenges are economic, our competitiveness has been slipping, and now they're also geopolitical. Much of that starts with how we deal with our energy. The good news is that the European Commission last week, when issuing its Clean Industrial Deal, was extremely clear on the road ahead. The solution is electrifying our energy system and relying on domestic sources of energy. Now, this is a huge responsibility for us as the wind industry. We deliver 19% of Europe's electricity today. In 2050, in a climate-neutral Europe, we will need to supply 50% in an energy system that is much, much more electrified. And we already see this, speaking to sectors from cement, chemicals, steel, aluminum. They're coming to us to supply competitive and decarbonized energy. So sure, the Clean Industrial Deal will help. It has a new grids manufacturing package of 1.5 billion euros with the European Investment Bank. But it also puts an even more acute focus on the need to sort out our energy system, to boost the supply of decarbonized energy, but of course to manage the energy system and expand the grid in a way that helps us to leverage and fully make use of that decarbonized energy. And this is all the more important because the political focus and the attention is extremely high. The European Commission wants an industrial decarbonization bank of 100 billion euros. Now, if we're not able to get the green electrons from our wind farms, solar farms, to our factories and to our society at large, all this debate is purely academic. Let's look at a few data points here relative to the wind industry that puts this a little bit in perspective. This event comes at an important time because the challenge will only get more acute. We expect wind installations in the next few years to accelerate. As you see, they've been flat over the last few years, but they will expand to 2030, which means that sorting out the planning of the grids becomes much, much more important. Already today, we have offshore wind farms in Germany that are fully constructed and that we can't connect to the grid for at least 1 year. This is simply not acceptable from a societal and economic standpoint, and we need to sort this out. That starts with planning the grid out 8 to 12 years. Second, we have a huge amount of wind and renewables capacity waiting for grid connection. On this chart here, you see that of all the countries that we have surveyed, we have 500 gigawatts of wind projects that are waiting for a connection to the grid. That's not including all of Europe, it's not including solar and other renewables. All these renewables projects are not equal in their value to the system, in their maturity, and in their strategic contribution to the energy system. So dealing with them on a first-come, first-term basis is simply not delivering the outcome that we want or need. There needs to be a much more strategic, a much more dynamic management of grid connection queues, prioritizing projects that are mature and that deliver value for the system. The deployment of renewables needs to be balanced, looking at energy system needs, and we need to deal with the backlog of capacity here. And finally, we have huge curtailment already across Europe. This is a big topic here in Greece, from what I understand. It's also a huge topic across Europe. 8% of all the wind power that's generated in Ireland is curtailed. If you look at offshore wind in Germany, it's 17%. Here again, it's simply not acceptable from an economic and societal point of view to have all these green electricity generated, and that's going to waste. And it also has an economic cost, of course. So we're particularly delighted to be here with this group of people because it's extremely important to tackle these challenges from different viewpoints. From the viewpoint of the government, of course, the European Commission, regulators, system operators, renewables developers, technology providers. It's only that collective intelligence that can actually help us deliver the objectives here. Of course, the cost of doing this is very, very significant, but the cost of inaction is crushing. So let's get to work. Thank you very much.